Tuesday. I guess it's time for another PD Skillz Show. This week we have none other than one of the big boss man at PWO, a man that I have been in the ring with on a couple occasions, a man who is clearly practicing proper health procedure in the household at this time. The grinder, Mark Shaw. What's up, brother?
Not much, man. How are you?
Not too bad, man. How have you been recently? You staying out of trouble?
Yeah. Just doing the day job, trying to wait patiently for the world to open or close or die or live or something. Who knows
Just
anymore?
some sort of change, right?
Yeah, anything at this point.
Well, hopefully sooner rather than later. I was talking to Old School, and he says at least by the end of the year he hopes we can get in there. I wishful thinking for me, summer.
I would hoping for summer, but it's not looking that way anymore. But we'll see.
So we'll jump into it here. So before we get into what we hope the future holds, and we already know the present hasn't been that kind to us. Let's dig a little bit in the past, because although me and you have wrestled a couple times, I have not gotten the pleasure of knowing too much about you on account of I usually live the furthest away, and I get the fuck out of there way sooner than most. So
that's fair.
So let's talk about Mark Shaw. Where did you start, brother?
I started at LLWA, so that was the Living Legends Wrestling Academy.
Okay.
I was running at the time out of when I started. It was in Stony Creek on Arvin Road.
Yep.
So it was just before we moved up to Unit 13, which everyone remembers Unit 13.
Yeah,
now
absolutely. No, I remember as soon as you said LLWA, it's like, okay, I didn't know that you were one of those guys.
Yeah, I was actually there just a little bit before, I guess, the big class where a lot of the names you'll remember, like Del Bruno and Josh and Paige came. I was a little bit before them. I was probably the class before them.
A lot younger, a lot more baby faced. That much I've seen in pictures. That's what I laugh when I'm like, all these guys that I see now that are bigger guys with the fucking beards and everything. And then I look at the old indie stuff. I'm like, we were all baby faces.
Yeah, we were all kids. We had no idea what the fuck we were doing.
Yeah, like I look and I'm like, why? I look at some of my older pictures when I'm all baby face, kind of grody facial hair, and I'm like, what was I doing in a wrestling ring? I'd fight me, no problem. I'm 100% sure I would have wanted to smack the shit out of me.
That was the appeal. You wanted someone to be like, come smack the shit out of me. No one's ever done it. No one's ever tried to rush the ring on me, which I guess, I don't know.
Sometimes I've never had anybody rush the ring on me. I've had somebody rush the ring during one of Rip's matches at a PWA Extreme show. And I wasn't having that.
No, absolutely not.
I always wanted to Kevin Nash the fuck out of somebody.
I love that reference.
Oh, it's the best. That's my favorite of all time. Is just Kevin Nash fucking just putting the boots in the corner.
That poor bastard probably had no idea what he signed up for either.
Yeah, like I watch those videos like when fans cross the line, and I watch them for hours and hours. I'm like, I wish a motherfucker would. That's
never
why I
do.
Live vicariously through Rip's match. I don't remember who he was working at the time, but I'm like 99.999% sure it was Rip's match.
I'm surprised I've never heard that story, or maybe I have. It was
very minute. It wasn't a big deal. Like they were drunks and they realized, like, those movies, like the videos where they freeze and like it was at that moment Billy realized he fucked up.
Yep.
It was basically one of those moments.
Yeah. The old Dave Chappelle skit.
Yeah.
Shit got real.
Yeah. So you got in, you started with LLW. What were some of the guys that you found yourself working mostly back then?
My first match was against a very, very young hacker. I think he was actually 13 when I wrestled him for the first time.
Scotty O'Shea hacker.
Obviously. Yep.
Anti-hero SOS. He's trying to get it out there. Help him out, man. Help a brother out.
Yeah, I should help him out. Yeah. Danny Magnum was one of the guys I worked with a lot back then. Quan Chang, Blade, which has kind of made a bit of a reappearance again. Now that he's doing like that filming stuff and Devin Parkside, Jeff Flurry, Matt Bison, Snapdragon, Spike Hammer.
A couple of those sound familiar from was it UWA Hardcore?
Yeah, they were in UW. Some of them were in UWA hardcore for a little bit. Rip obviously was there too.
Yeah.
That was kind of that class. I want to say graduate class because a lot of us were still there long after, like we probably would have graduated. But that was like those were the crew of guys I started with. There's probably a couple more I'm missing. They either didn't stick around very long or just I don't remember them. Might have taken a blow to the head or something. I don't know. Don't remember everybody.
Now, obviously, we know you as the Grinder today. Is that a moniker that's followed you throughout, like since the beginning, or is that something you grew into?
I think I more grew into that. I started off as the Urban Warrior for a little bit. I'm not entirely.
Did you think you were a gangster?
No, but I did that for a bit too.
Because that's when I hear Urban Warrior, that's something I had thought about doing, like some sort of like urban redneck where it was like kind of gangster but kind of redneck. So I was kind of curious. I was like, oh, tell me you thought he was a gangster.
I was just I wore face paint. I kind of did like a weird goth thing on it.
Okay.
It was like a gothic Ultimate Warrior, except for I was like pale and fat. So I didn't look. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with it. And I think that's probably why it never worked because I had no idea what the gimmick was. It was just I need a moniker, so I was like Urban Warrior. Why? I don't know. And I wore face paint because no one else was wearing face paint. And I rode that out for years.
I never had a moniker like ever. There's some that like Warhead's thrown around now, but before like nothing. Like when you watch the Give Us Your Money Death Proof show, where everybody's got like over their names like hashtag Canadian bad boy and all that kind of stuff. Mine actually says hashtag not some old timer because I didn't have a fucking moniker.
No, I did. Like I guess my first year or two I didn't have a moniker either, and then I was like, we were all told we should have a gimmick. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll come up with a gimmick. I didn't actually like think of a gimmick. I just thought of like what weird gear and what can I like wear that would make me stand out. So I went with like a gothic thing. Like I painted my nails black. I did like whatever that I could think of at the time that made me stand out just ever so slightly. I was trying to do, and none of it made any fucking sense in the slightest, like at all. And then eventually I just dropped.
And did you kind of figure that out, or did somebody sit you down and say, "Hey, you know, brother, this fucking blows"?
No, that's the worst part. No one ever told me.
That is the fucking worst part. Yeah. No one ever tells you.
Nobody ever said shit. They're just like, oh, okay, cool, Urban Warrior. And we're like, oh yeah, you're the guy with the face paint. Eventually I figured it out. I was like, this shit's not working. And so I dropped the moniker for a bit and I tried to do the gangster thing. I wore the bandana. I don't know. It didn't last very long. It lasted.
I've been wearing the bandana since 2004, so I still think I'm a little bit gangster sometimes.
Yeah, that's fair. I always associated the bandana with like more the biker thing.
Yeah, you know what? What's funny is I actually like grew up like in a family where the biker lifestyle was a very big reality. My dad was actually like the president in a biker club at the time. So I've actually tried to stay as far away from that as possible. Like myself, the bandana has been a hip hop thing. Like, I used to make rap music, and you know, PD Skillz when I was younger always had that like kind of. I came out to like rap music, and it was that hip hop feel. So like, but yeah, I get where the band. It depends how you wear them, I guess. The bandanas, if you're wearing them on like cowboy boots, and you got the long hair and it coming out, I could see that being more of a biker look. Yeah.
See, I always had like until like the last like 6-7 years, I never used to grow my hair out. Yeah. So I'd have it like bicked right down to the hardwood, and then I'd wear the bandana, kind of like just big enough that it covers most of my forehead, but not like so big that it looks like, you know what I mean?
I feel like you did the bandanas on the knee pads before too.
I did do the bandana.
Yes, that's something. I do that whenever I fucking can't find my knee pad covers.
That was pretty much it. Is that I switched gear. I wasn't wearing pants or tights anymore. I was wearing a singlet, and I was like, I don't want to get whole new knee pads yet. I'm being cheap, so I'm like, how do I stretch this out a little bit longer? I'm just gonna cover instead of getting covers. I'm just gonna get bandanas because I was trying to do it on the thrift.
Now, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You got to cut costs where you can, especially when, you're just getting used to a new gimmick or you're trying something new. You don't know if you're all the way in. You might want to change it. Like it's hard. I'm still, I'm still thrifty. I do a lot of this shit myself. Like I've always worn MMA shorts for the longest time. I mean, I used to have trash bag pleather shorts like every generic motherfucker did back in the day. Still hang on my wall, but then I just switched to MMA shorts and I get them custom pressed or whatever, design my own shit. Like I'm thrifty as a motherfucker.
Yeah, you gotta do what you can, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So now everybody, knows PWO. That's the thing now. I know PWO wasn't always the thing. The Fed that you were running, fronting there. Was it Fringe before?
Yeah. I was part of Fringe before. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I know a little bit about Fringe only because of their the crossover feud there. That's where I got my first dose of Fringe. What gang of guys was that? How did that come about?
Fringe. Okay, that's a story in itself. Fringe started with I can't say I started Fringe. I joined in before they did anything relevant, but it was started by a lot of the guys that are running CPW now, which I like to sometimes call it Fringe 2.0. And my good buddy Bill Chase was also part of the beginning of Fringe. They invited me to a meeting at a Tim Hortons one day, and they said, we're going to run a wrestling company. Well, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll sit down with you guys. I don't know any of you. I know, or not any of you. I know two of you. Yeah. None of you have any business running a wrestling company, but I'm like, I'll sit down and listen.
Yeah, but I got nothing else to do. Let's hear this.
That was literally it. And then it was like an hour into this meeting. I'm sitting there going, like, you guys don't know your fucking, like, your head from a hole in the ground. And they're like, you're going to come back to the next meeting? I'm like, yeah, I am. I came back to the next meeting with like 2 years of storyline written out, cost projections, like all this stuff. And I was like, listen, like, if you guys are going to do this and you want me involved, this is what it's going to take to me being involved. And from that point on, it kind of just like, I took the ball and ran with it for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
I don't even think when they invited me in that they were like, oh, I don't know how involved he's going to be. I kind of just made myself very involved. And it just kept going, and then I kept putting money in, and it just kept going and going and going.
If you find yourself useful in that situation, you find a role that you enjoy, and it's something a cause you want to contribute to. I mean, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh no. So I was gonna ask. So is that like, and did that evolve into? Was there like a split where PWO and
Fringe pretty much ate itself alive.
Okay.
Cameron Banks was one of the business partners in Fringe.
And many indie feds do.
Yeah.
It's not an easy business.
See, the problem I think really what it came down to is that each of us had a job. For better or for worse, I was the booker, and a lot of that philosophy would carry over into PWO, but I'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Cameron was essentially the money guy. Not only was he the guy who put the primary amount of money in, but he was also in charge of managing the money. But him having no prior wrestling experience, he kind of used me as his, let's say, industry expert on where should our money be going.
Okay.
He would spend money on things that we never needed to spend money on, and he would drop large sums of money on it. Like he would buy a projector, but not a projector for a screen that you would run intro music or intro videos and and videos like that. He'd buy a projector that would have our logo shot over on the side. I'm like, of the venue. And I'm like, well, you don't need that. You don't want to draw attention away from the ring.
Like that's step M.
Yeah. And so it was a step, like there was stuff like that, bringing Scarlett in when she was very, very green still, and flying her in from the States and dropping something like
I was just going to say, big money.
Yeah. And it was funny because that was a big anniversary show. That was our second anniversary show, or technically it's our third anniversary show. We used to call it like year one was the 1 year, year two.
Yeah.
What we were short was exactly what he brought in. What Scarlett cost to bring in. We were literally short exactly what he spent the extra money on that we didn't need, and she didn't draw.
I was just gonna say, no discredit to her, because I mean, obviously, like you said,
she was just very young.
Time.
Yeah,
nobody was there to see. Like at a lot of these shows, nobody's there to see some of those draws. Like,
and I had to do the research to even find out who she was at the time.
Yeah.
He's suggesting her. He goes, we'll fly her in. He goes, I got her contact information. I'm like, who the fuck is she? And I'm sitting here looking, I'm like, oh, he wants her to work Silesia. I'm like, why not bring a couple local girls in?
Yeah.
Who would otherwise not get a spot. Obviously, there's like,
and who will probably put asses in seats because they're excited to be there.
Yeah.
Especially if they are local.
Yep. So that kind of was the beginning of the downfall. At that point, we were just bleeding money because the rift between him and I became really, really substantial to the point that he was just spending money, I think, sometimes to spite me, which was fine because it was like at the end of the day, it was his money. It was he can do what he wants with his money. 100%. But the company wasn't growing at all. We were actually taking steps backwards, despite the fact that our crowds were getting bigger. We were drawing more attention. And then by the point that Warhead could kind of come in and we started discussing doing the crossover show, at that point, we were wrapping up a big storyline and then we were going to go into the crossover show. When that storyline ended, he pretty much told me that I was fired, which was weird because you can't fire a guy who owns half the company. But I saw the writing on the wall. And I was like, this isn't going to last much longer. And the reputation that we had and the reputation that we had started to gain because of the way Cam acted in the locker room, the way he held himself on social media, it was such a negative experience, and it was starting to actually make me really, really dislike wrestling in general. So
there's people there that do that to you, like that it fucking isn't fun anymore.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna walk away. I'm done. Like he's fired me. I could fight it. I could make a big thing about it. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna regroup, and I'm gonna think of something else, and I'm gonna come back. And then, like, long behold, the next show they do the Fringe versus Death Proof, and all the shenanigans that happened at that show afterwards. I was like, and then all of a sudden Fringe closes, and I was like, well, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of saw that coming.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, seen that.
So and you know what? Honestly, we took Bill and I sat down like immediately. I think a week after that Fringe Death Proof show, we sat down, we talked about it, and said, we want to do something else. And Bill was like, I really want to do it. Yeah, clean slate. And I was like, let's go back to the drawing board. Where do we go from there, right? Like we had done something good with Fringe, but there was so much negative that came with it that where do we go and where do we build? So we took a lot of the stuff that we liked, a lot of the positive stuff, and we tried to take a fresh spin on it. It took us a couple of years to get there, in all honesty, maybe a little bit longer than we originally planned. But we started in 2018, and I'm pretty sure Fringe ended in 2016. Okay. So there was like a good 2-year gap where we sat there and we kind of built, and we tried to figure out what we were going to do. We brought Nathan Savage in.
See, that's so crazy to me to say like that's when Fringe closed and that's how long ago that was. Because I remember reading that storyline, and it's like that's just nuts. Yeah,
and that was like that was a big show too, right? That Fringe Death Proof show was such a big crossover show, and to think that was like what, almost 5 years ago now.
Yeah, it's I mean, time flies.
Yeah, and that was
now time crawls, but I mean at the time.
Yeah, well, yeah, sometimes it flies. I can't believe it's May or June. I don't even know what month it is anymore.
May.
Is it May? Yeah, fuck me, man. It's May. Like, I don't know. Yeah, like sometimes you don't register the passage of time, but like that 2 years was therapeutic in a way, and it gave me the right approach when we went into PWO.
You come in refreshed.
Yeah, because I think if I went right from Fringe into PWO, I think it would have been a dumpster fire right off the bat.
And you'd have had a chip on your shoulder.
100%. Like, I'll be honest, there probably was a little bit of a chip on my shoulder.
To a degree, that's healthy. Yeah. But I mean, when it's fresh, when that chip's right there and fresh, like you just do the chip.
Yep. And we didn't want it. We wanted it to be. what we wanted it to be was what we wanted Fringe to be, which was not about getting us over. It was about building something for our local community, but also like building guys that weren't getting attention.
And you know what?
There was, yeah.
I'm glad you bring that up. That's, that's one of the things I do actually really want to talk about, because it is something I've noticed. Like, I get to watch the online presence of PWO. It's actually one of the only indies I have went to in the last 10 years just to go to a show. So
thank you.
and I got to see new faces that like I not necessarily had never seen before, but never seen live or never actually got to watch a full match outside of clips. And that's, I want to talk. Those are some of the things I want to talk about with PWO, is not just some of that young talent, but a lot of the differences that I've noticed. I'll start with one strong merchandise.
I can't take full credit for that, but yeah.
No, and I know that, and I know a plug comes along with it. Who do you got in charge of the media department there? Who's putting out this beautiful merchandise?
Nathan Savage, which you can find him like Savage Media, Savage Pro on all the socials. He literally self-taught himself how to do all that. He literally one day
that's the way to do it, man.
He at the beginning, the first year, we were using other guys doing our editing and stuff. Like Matt Grant helped us a lot with doing posters the first year.
Yeah.
But Nathan Savage was like, man, he goes, we would save so much money if like one of us knew how to do this. And I was like, man, I tried. I have no skill in this department at all. And he goes, give me some time. And like a month later, he's like, okay. He's like, here's a poster. He's like, here's some graphics. Here's like, what if we did this for a shirt? And I was like, damn, man, you were good. And as time's gone, he's only gotten better at it. Yeah. And it's awesome to watch. But it's like he kind of took the ball and he ran with it. And like, it's solid stuff, man. I wear it. Like I wear it all the time, right? So like,
yeah, no, it's nice merchandise. Like a lot of it's like really well done. It's not like over exaggerated shit. Like some of it's classy. Like it's stuff people would wear on a regular basis.
Yep.
And like that goes a long way, because it's good presentation, and that's something that I feel you guys put a lot of pride into, is your presentation. I mean, you've got the merchandise, we've covered that, and then I got fireworks going off in the neighborhood. And then you guys, and I've talked about this on some of my other episodes with some of the guys, some of the most beautiful belts on the Ontario indie scene. A great combination too. Like, I mean, obviously we've seen open weight championships, we've seen internet championships, we've seen trios, but this is like one of the first companies where I've seen that as the combination of championships.
Yep.
And even though they all tie in and look together pretty much, like a couple, like the internet title and the trios with the kind of like Grand Theft Auto font vibe they've got to them.
Yeah.
But like all the titles really tie in together well. Like the presentation is good, and it's got a super different vibe. What made you guys decide, like, hey, we're not going to do just the PWO champion. We're not going to do tag team champions. What made you guys go in that direction?
I think we look at wrestling as a little more progressively. I think now people are starting to kind of catch up with our mindset a little bit, but I'm not a big fan of weight classes. I think weight classes are stupid. There's no reason in this day and age to have a cruiserweight or a heavyweight title. If you have Rey Mysterio, like, who used to be a WWE champion, and then you're going to tell me that, like, oh, but now Mustafa Ali can't be WWE champion because he's a cruiserweight.
Yeah.
Well, why is he, like, you know what I mean? Same thing.
Yeah, that's something they flip-flop with over the years.
And they have, and I don't like it's inconsistent. The same thing. I don't think that there needs to be gendered titles. I firmly believe that there's enough women in Ontario or on this planet that can kick my ass any day of the week. And if they can kick my ass, then they should be able to kick anybody else's ass. So why can't?
But I mean, at least that part I do get. Okay, so guys and girls, I mean, they can compete, so that's obviously a plus. But I do get the separation, like, is for the sake of the sport. And to be honest, if it was the normal, I don't think it'd be so great and special when it does happen.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think, and there's a different perspective to it, and I think that's a good opportunity for
Because
dialogue.
I like that wrestling Jen Blake was different, and that's what made it big to me. Like wrestling April Hunter, it being different and out of the norm, that's what made it big to me. Like I feel if like I want to normalize it in the sense that people aren't offended by it, but like I want it to stay special. I like a cage match where I want everyone to love it, but I still want it to stay special.
Yeah, you don't want to have a cage match every week.
Yeah.
A lot of the thing when it came down to whether or not we were going to do it, like we thought there's no reason for it because I don't think there's enough women to give variety in Ontario. And that's not a shot at anybody.
No, then because there was a point where there was, and then there was this big boom. And
isn't, yeah. And
a lot of the girls work in the States a lot too. Like,
yeah, and that's the thing. There's a lot of the girls that are so talented that they're not here. So either we don't have options to book them, or there's only a handful of girls that are being used literally everywhere else. That we're going to create a women's division with a special guest once in a while, and then the same 5 girls competing. Great for those 5 girls, they'd have a job, but you're going to have to work like 5 times as hard to get that division over.
And I get why, and that's so sometimes working them in for the sake of not putting them in a stagnant position.
Yeah. Yep. And
but the trio, you know what? I find the trios titles, like, because I've seen Jesse compete for the trios titles, right? And I think
Jody Brett's competed them for him as well. So
yeah, and that's a great way to fucking mix that in. Like,
it's little bits here and there, right? Like Jesse was like, we had a great team that we did with her originally before we put her with Sean and Matt for a bit.
Yeah.
But it was just
Who did you guys have her with before then?
Dylan Daniels and Liam Worldwide. They were known as Desired by Design. And they were just essentially good-looking people, just being good-looking people. And it worked. It got them over. And Jesse was doing the selfie queen thing. So it worked perfectly with that entire gimmick. But at the same point in time, like the only person that ever in character treated Jesse Mack differently was Hacker. And SOS was doing that as part of his gimmick in PWO. But otherwise, none of the guys got in there with Jesse and it was like, oh, it's the girl. It was still just another competitor. And that was kind of the mold that we went with when we went, we're going to do open weight. We're going to do trios. We want everyone to be in there.
You know what? I'm looking forward to the day where I end up getting to wrestle her. It hasn't happened the first couple times it was supposed to. Like, you just either plans changed or, 2020 happened and shit got canceled altogether.
Yeah, that's fair. I was going to say, I don't think
she was supposed to work me, and I remember like Matt telling me, Jesse asked me how working you is this morning, and I was like, fun. It's gonna fucking hit you hard, but like it's fun.
You don't even hit that hard.
You motherfucker. I could edit that out, but I don't need to.
No,
I have the video evidence to support that that's a fucking lie.
I gotta get you somewhere, man.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. And then so we talk about great merchandise, great looking belts, very unique in the way that everything's kind of organized, the divisions there, and then a lot of young faces. And a lot of that has been highlighted with your series Foundation.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about how the Foundation project started first.
Well, Foundation originally it was just a YouTube vehicle to get people to watch our IWTV stuff. When the world fell apart, we decided we were like, well, we want to give our fans some sort of content. There was a lot of debate about, do we put it up behind a paywall? Do we do like a Patreon or do something like that? And we decided, we're like, no, we're just going to do a series on YouTube. We're going to film it all. We're going to give it away to our fans for free, because why should they have to pay for something that we wouldn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, we would have put Foundation on for free anyways if we were running events. So why are we going to put a whole series on and charge people to watch it? We didn't budget for it to
make money, so let's just stick with the plan at this point.
Yeah, and we'll give people content, give people something to watch, because it was a shit like year. Give them a little something different to watch. and it still served the exact same purpose, right? It was turning people onto our social media, turning people onto our WTV account, like to our merchandise. It does the exact same thing that it was doing when we were running events. It just gave people a little extra content that they could sit back and enjoy. And it also gave us an opportunity to do different things and tell different stories with guys that we hadn't been able to at that point in time, because we were either working towards those stories or we just hadn't got there, because there was only a finite amount of time on a show.
Yeah, as I say, there's time constraints. I mean, you can get everybody's match in, but it's hard to get everybody's story over.
Yeah, so when you did that kind of like that studio formula that we did, it gave us a little bit more time to give guys that weren't getting as much attention as we wanted to, gave them a little bit of extra. It also gave us unique matches that we weren't going to ever probably book for a live crowd. Not that they don't deserve to be in front of a live crowd. It's just the storylines. Yeah, they would have always took us in a different direction. Like putting Tyler Hill with Matt Grant was something that they kind of inadvertently started themselves.
Yeah.
By chirping each other online. And we were like,
well, that's 2020/2021. The only way to get yourself in a match and get a storyline is to put yourself over on the fucking internet.
Apparently, yeah. Ask Wade about that.
I'm going to, and that's, he's I guess now gonna have to chronologically be after your episode, since you told me to ask him about it future dated. So
well, there you go. Well, maybe it's before or after. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I may have already asked him. I may ask him in the future. It depends.
Yeah, depends on how this goes.
When you're watching this. So, and speaking guys like Wade, who are some of the guys that are fresher faces that work PWO that you're really excited about?
I really like Airstrike. I like Forte. I like Arrow. I like having them as a trios with Yates. I think that it's fun. They're so much fun together.
He's a great, it's awesome that when the guy who doesn't match at all is the perfect link.
Yeah. And that was the thing. Like, we always sat there, we're like, oh, who do we book with the Airstrike? And I was like, Yates. And it works. And he's so much fun to watch. I wouldn't call him a fresh face, but I'm still excited to watch what Hill does. I think Hill is, despite being a piece of shit, he's fun. He is such a good character in PWO.
He's aggressive.
He's a good character anywhere, but he literally got himself over putting somebody else over.
Yeah.
Like, he was so badass making Jake Jones look like $1 million that the crowd was like, this guy is a fucking genius.
Yeah,
and this guy's a fucking, and they just got behind him. And it's just every time he gets in the ring, he gets more people to like him, and he doesn't have to change anything about himself. He's still the badass. He's still kind of like, I don't know if he's the good guy or the bad guy anymore. Doesn't matter. People still love him. And that's exciting to watch from like behind the curtain. He's a guy that not a lot of people give opportunities to. Somebody gave him an opportunity. He took the ball and just fucking 8 touchdowns in a row. And he's just like, now what?
Yeah.
And now everyone has to pay attention to him. And it's like, good. I want to keep promoting the fuck out of that. But yeah, Wade's another guy. Wade's a guy I want to see more of. Wade, I've been pretty excited to see where he's going to go with us. So far, it's been pretty cool, but I think going down the road, he's going to do some pretty neat things too.
I feel like that championship's been his love child as far as coming out as a character.
It suited him, and he put himself in that position, and I think he kind of found his comfort zone, playing this version of himself. And I think at this point, I don't even think the title even he doesn't need it, but he's just so good with it. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't need it, but damn, is he good with it? And damn, does he make it it more important than it was before? And I think he deserves that kind of recognition that he's getting. He's done that. Obviously we helped.
As much as he's an up and comer, and that holds that title, I found that when the other guys held it, TKD had it, right? And
TKD had it very, very shortly.
Yeah, very shortly. And then did Liam have it?
Liam didn't have JT Kirk had it for a while.
Okay, yeah.
You wouldn't know, right? Like, yeah.
No, I knew JT Kirk had it because that's who Wade beat for it.
Yeah, that's who Wade beat for it.
Yeah, and like it kind of seemed more like the belt was like the up and comer mid card belt at that time, which is funny now because even though it's held by someone who is like more of a rookie to professional wrestling, it doesn't seem like the title is about being like the quote unquote mid card title. It seems like it's about being the internet title.
Yeah,
like
and there's a lot of
possibilities there.
And that Wade did that. Like, we can't take that much credit for it because Wade did that on his own. And like that, I think that speaks volumes to the kind of guys that we try to use, guys that want to increase the value of PWO. Because obviously when we book you or whatever, right, we want to showcase you. But at the same point in time, we want you to help us build up like our company as well. And I think that's a disconnect that I remember starting off, people were like, oh man, like, well, you're not going to make a difference here. Who cares? Like, just come in, do your opening match and take your pay and be happy with it. Like, if you weren't the 4 or 5 guys that company had decided we're building our entire company off you until maybe you get signed, like, then you're here and you're interchangeable. Everyone's interchangeable, but we try to make everybody feel like they have a chance to make an impact here, and then give everyone the opportunity to help us build a better company so that the next guys or themselves can get more exposure. It's like a snowball.
Yeah, and every match does seem like it has, like, of the things I've seen, it does seem like every match has something to it. It's not just, thrown together to be a match on the card.
I don't really like that. It happens, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it happens. Like, sometimes if people don't show you got to shuffle the deck a little bit, it's bound to happen. But like, things seem pretty well thought out.
We try to everything should have a reason. There should be a reason why these guys are fighting. Like, if they're just fighting for the sake of fighting, it's like, okay, well, does it really matter who wins or loses at that point? There's got to be something there, whether it's pride or ego or opportunity or cash or titles, right? There's got to be a motivation behind every match. And if there isn't, then it doesn't feel authentic anymore.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something that you try to get across as much as you can. It's pro wrestling. You want it to seem as authentic as possible, as best you can, within, like, still sometimes being cartoonish, sometimes being ridiculous.
100%. And that's why, like, I've enjoyed, even though, in the beginning we were thrown into matches with little knowledge of each other. That's why I've enjoyed working with you, because you strive for that realism. So, like, I'm like, good, like, this guy, this guy's gonna make a little contact, like, not fucking KO me. He's gonna make a little contact. He's gonna make it look real, and he's not gonna make me look like an asshole, which is like,
yep. Oh yeah, that's kind of always been my philosophy, right? It's just like, gotta try to make it authentic, at least a little bit. Like, if the crowd can see you missing somebody with a strike from a mile away, like, you've lost them right there. Doesn't matter.
And it's embarrassing to fucking sell that. And I've seen people sell nothing.
Yep.
And I've seen some bigger guys that just look way too fucking light in there.
Yep. Everyone's worried about hurting, which is, fair. You don't want to hurt nobody, but there's a safe way to work snug. There's a safe way to do it. And I think if people took a little bit more time to try, I don't know, maybe slow down.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word, slow down, and just, if you're going to have 80 strikes in a match, make every 80 strike matter, opposed to.
I used to be like, I used to have the worst fucking punches. I watch some of my older matches now, and I'm like, those are fucking terrible. Like, they'd make contact, but you could tell, like, that they weren't intending to do damage. And now I'm like, fuck. Like, like you said, slowed it down, and I'm like, I know where the fucking meat on the body is. Like, stop.
Yep. And I think the same thing. Like, I used to throw terrible punches, just god awful punches. So I went more with elbows and forearm strikes, because I was like, kind of fits more my style anyways. I like to get.
I think one of the best fucking punches were Austin's.
Yep.
Austin would light people up, and if you I mean, anybody's welcome to do it. He gets so close, and then he just real quick, like,
yep.
Just.
And then you watch The Rock try to do the same thing, because I hated The Rock's.
Oh, The Rock's okay. I get you. I hated The Rock when he first started. It took growing on me. But those punches, those were iconic. Like,
they are iconic, but like looking back at them now, I'm just like, you're not even hitting them. Like, what are you doing? You're just swinging your arm at him. But hindsight, right? Like at the time,
I mean, his punches weren't worse than his sharpshooter. So, as a Canadian, that's what should upset you more, is his fucking sharpshooter.
I just tried to pretend that he never did it because it was just better that way.
Yeah.
But he did win matches with it. Like, he did win matches with it.
Yeah.
And that's on TV.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a thing. So I know you guys have got the Foundation out, that series out now. Where can people find that? Just on the YouTube?
Yeah, right now, Foundation you can find exclusively on YouTube. You go to YouTube /PWO, Pro Wrestling Ontario. You can also find it on IWTV as well. Pro Wrestling, I think it's actually PW Ontario on IWTV. That's where you'll find all of our bigger events. Foundation, YouTube, all the other stuff, IWTV.
All right. And then, so obviously we're all at a standstill right now. Have you guys been steady brainstorming, or just kind of taking it easy?
No, we have, I don't want to say everything kind of plotted out, but we have pretty good blueprint of where we'd like to go once we can start going. Originally, we were really hoping that we'd be able to do some outdoor shows this summer. I'm still kind of holding on hope that we can, but we'll have to see where things go. Hopefully by the fall or winter, we'll be able to run indoor shows again. If we absolutely have to, we will probably do another filming segment of kind of like studio Foundation shows.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but at the same point in time, we want to give our fans content. If we can't get them together,
keep the rust off too, right?
Yeah, exactly. But if we can't get them together, get the fans together outside or inside safely, then that's probably the route we'll go. But we're going to wait and see right now what happens. But that being said, like, Doug Ford could call me tomorrow and be like, you can run a show. I'd be like, I got it all ready to go. I literally just need to confirm dates. So
yeah.
So we're ready to go.
You guys got your vision. It's just a matter of when to get that green light, and then a few plans on the side in case.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just what else are you going to do but plan? I guess the thing, I could have planned like 10 years in advance at this point, like sitting here waiting patiently for the world to open back up. So we're ready whenever we can. So
yeah, but I mean, until then, we all bide our time, doing whatever we can to stay busy. I saw the other night, there's, I caught the advertisement. Speaking of, keeping busy, I caught the advertisement for the D&D session the other night. Yep. I've been seeing a lot of independent wrestlers doing a lot of different things, like whether it be streaming, like, console gaming, or, things like Among Us that have been streamed.
Yep.
All that different stuff, and everybody's starting different podcasts. But that was the first. This is the first time I've seen the D&D, and it's a lot of a lot of indie wrestlers, and it's a different mix of guys. Do you guys find do you almost find that to be like a creative outlet that you're missing right now?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I've been playing D&D since I was like 10 years old. Mm-hmm. It's always been a creative outlet for me.
I tried it. I tried it. Like I played like weekly for about a month and a half, and I felt so bad because the dude that like I did it with, like he had like a coffee table with a built-in screen for all the maps.
Nice.
And, like, oh yeah, and like we had guys that like called in, and I felt so bad when I stopped playing because like he clearly put so much effort into it, and it was a good time. It just, honestly, it wasn't for me. And the night of the week we were doing it, like it just didn't work out. And like, really, I just got high and asked what NPCs were on the map so that I could chuck them. That was my go-to move, was throwing NPCs.
You're like the worst type of player. No.
I was actually, my boss at work, like in my shoot job, he's super into D&D. So I told him I was going to be playing. He's like, we're going to build you a fucking wrestler. He's like, hey, we're going to do this. And like, I need you to tell me what rules you're playing with this and this, because we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And he sends me in with this guy, and the guys I'm playing with are like, you know that this guy is borderline fucking useless. I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's funny, right?
You know what? That is kind of funny though. Yeah, it's always been a creative outlet. Playing it like on Twitch is a little different for me. I'm not up to speed with like how streaming and all that works. I'm a little behind the time on that.
I'm learning. Like, I'd love to get into the gaming aspect. I've gotten this far. Like, I know how to make my fucking background disappear, all that good stuff, but I don't know how to integrate with all the games and all that.
Talk to Nathan Savage, actually.
Yeah.
He's quite skilled in that.
And then my only other problem is, like, because I get intense when I game, like, I don't want to be accountable for the things I say to like kids online.
I just don't think I'd be very entertaining, because I'm just gonna like, I get locked in, like especially gaming, I get locked into what I'm doing.
Yeah,
like,
and you're just focused. You're a chill game player.
Yeah, so everyone else would be like chatting away and talking to me, and I'd be like, oh shit, you guys are here? Yeah. Like, hold on, I'm in the middle of this. Like, I don't got time for you right now.
Oh no, I'm terrible. I'm like, I get killed by someone repeatedly that I can tell they're just hunting me out. And I'm like, listen, you motherfucker, I'm gonna log off, buy a plane ticket, come to your house, and fucking beat your ass in front of your parents. I get like, so oh, mad.
I see, that's the thing though. Even playing like the D&D on Twitch, I notice I'm paying so much attention to what everyone's saying. And then I look over and see myself on the screen. I'm like, oh fuck! I'm just like, I'm staring here like that the entire time. I'm like, I'm not
just fucking dead
all.
Face.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm listening, I'm paying attention, I'm watching the board. I'm like, okay. And I look over, I'm like, man, if someone's watching me, they can see right up my nose. I'm like, fucking look like I'm half asleep. I was like, all right, like, I don't know if I'm Twitch ready. That's all.
Twitch ready.
I haven't been Twitch trained yet.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You gotta just do what I do. Start with stuff to fucking pre-recorded, and then you can edit out those moments where you look like an asshole. And you can't get them all, otherwise I'd have no podcast. But I mean, whatever.
There you go.
All right. Well, we're creeping up on that magical hour mark. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Tell everybody where they can find you, Mark.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Grinder Mark Shaw. You can find me on Pro Wrestle Tees at Grinder Mark Shaw as well. I have a Facebook. Sometimes I use it. It's also Grinder Mark Shaw, but don't expect it to be updated as much.
There you go.
Instagram and Twitter are where it's at.
Nice and easy. I can definitely appreciate that, because I myself, easy guy to find at PD Skillz Show on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff. Make sure you guys hit up that YouTube, check out PWO Foundation. Again, a great company with a great vibe, a lot of young talent, a lot of talent that I've had on the show and talked about. So definitely check them out. Mark, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Fucking appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, man. It was
just
great.
As lovely chatting as it has been beating the fuck out of each other.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, hopefully sooner rather than later, we can go back to beating the shit out of each other.
Yep.
Until then, this has been another episode of the PD Skillz Show. This is the Grinder Mark Shaw. I'm PD Skillz, and we are getting the fuck out of here.